Hello YouTube, once again Alfred here once again, and welcoming you back to another session for Wakati Avenue. As I said, my name is Alfred and I hope you guys been doing well. And today's video, basically my topic will be on in fact it's inspired by some guy called Chris. Chris is a YouTuber. He has the YouTube channel called First Man. Chris is a young dude. I think he's 10 years my junior or something like that. It's 29 or 30. And I've been listening to his stuff lately, and he's a very articulate, very progressive kind of young man that you can listen to, and you get a lot of things. Maybe you may get inspired by him. Like I am, and you can learn a lot from Chris, from the First Man. And the reason I'm saying this is because a lot of us older guys, we usually don't listen to the younger YouTubers, you know, because we usually stick with our peers, listening to our peers, or maybe listening to sometimes that the elder red pill content, or just the elder guys getting out such content, this familiar or similar type of content. You find we only stick to people like maybe Coach Greg or maybe Rome Wheels. These are our elder brothers, you know, those guys who are ahead, but we can also listen to these young guys coming up, people like Steph is Cold, you know, those guys also. You can learn a lot from these youngins. Anyway, today I don't know, one of his videos, Chris that is, one of his videos that popped up in my feed, in my YouTube feed, and he was talking about the compound effect, right? The effect of how a lot of what we learn, it compounds over the years, right? And there's no need for you to like give up on what you're learning. You can always come back, because our brain does usually have this muscle memory, and if you stick to something long enough, and even if you leave it or something happens, when you come back, you can always like begin or start where you ended, and then you can also add on that, right? I'll give you an example of myself, right? I've always loved creating music, but I just never thought I'd be one of those guys who can do it. So what I did, I remember back in, I think it was 2004, when I was just playing around the computer, a friend's computer, by the way. I never had a computer myself, never had a laptop. I think I was 24, 23, something like that, very young. So we're just playing around the computers, and there was this FL that we were playing around. It was Fruity Loops, obviously the very one of those early versions of Fruity Loops. But we're just playing around, and then we never just nothing came after that. We never did anything with that particular skill, so we like forgot about it, right? Then came 2006, I was working for a cousin of mine, right? And I actually got Fruity Loops, and in my spare time I'd play around with it. I remember this was at my job now. I think it was one of my first jobs, right? This was 2006. So I was playing around, but I just, you know, I just couldn't learn, because I'm the type who like to be instructed and all that, and I was fresh out of high school, so I needed someone to like tutor me and all that, so I gave up on it, right? So fast forward like 2012, and I come about again, another version of Fruity Loops. I play around with it, but nothing comes of it. But then I said, I think it was last year, it was 2020, right? I said this time, as I was planning, right, 2020, I think it was around the same time here, or around October, right, of 2020. I was planning out my my goals for 2021, which is this year, right? And I vividly remember putting music production as one of my goals, right? It was alongside learning how to do basic video editing, just basic stuff, because I had no idea of anything, right? And so music production was one of my goals. I had set out to learn, right? And this was supposed to happen. This goal was supposed to be started on the second quarter, right? Because the first quarter of 2021, I decided to start off with learning how to do some basic video production, video editing, that is. Just edit a few videos here and there for my YouTube, right? Then second quarter, as I said, was supposed to be dedicated to this this music production. Then came here comes 2021. Okay, I learned how to edit. I download DaVinci, obviously the free version, and teach myself how to do that, right? Just basic things. I signed up for Skillshare, and I learned all these basic things. And then what happened was that I think something came up. I had to stop my Skillshare subscription, right? So then I couldn't. I put the production on hold, the music production on hold. But I remember vividly. I was also through the second quarter. That's May to July or something like that. I was now doing more of my YouTube, concentrating on my YouTube, and also doing a lot of my exercises, right? So I was doing exercises, also watching a lot of YouTube channels on exercising, making sure that my body was right. So I put the music production on hold, even though a lot of my exercises were supposed to go hand in hand with the production learning, right? But I had to really concentrate on my body, because now I was like kind of gaining weight, and I was also, my weight was fluctuating at times, and so I had to really take care of myself. So that's why I put it off till then. Came, I think, was last month, right? Then I subscribed to Skillshare, and I started now seriously doing the music production thing. Downloaded Fruity Loops 2021, the latest. And here I was just playing around, and then watching a few videos from YouTube here and there, going to Skillshare, taking a bit of classes here and there. And for now, I'm really not. I'm really not there yet. In fact, I'm far from being there, but I'm really getting the idea, right? That's because I had the confidence, because I've already started way back, and now I'm coming back for another try, and this time I'm going to stick with it. So the plan here is to stick with something. You stick with that thing until you get the gist of it. You really are able to really kind of master the thing, right? So for me, things are getting easier because of this muscle memory, and also the fact that things, as they compound, right, they become easier, because now you're learning how to learn. And also, as I was learning the DaVinci thing, right, the DaVinci Resolve, that now translated for me and paved the way for me to learn these new skills on music production. That's because of, obviously, when you're learning something, your senses and your neurons or something like that, they open up. New neuron senses open up in your brain, and your brain obviously is more receptive to new things. Because you're now taking things up easily. You're much more ready to learn. So, as I said, right now I'm not yet proficient anyway, but I have a very, very clear idea now. I can at least create a bit of chords here and there, create a bit of beats. I still have a long way to go. I tend to, I will lean more on just probably in beats production, just creating beats and just creating a sound, and maybe mixing also. There's so much into music. There's also, sampling and all that. But I'll stop at music production and all that. I don't think I'll venture into things like mastering. I prefer to leave such things to the experts. You know, experts can do way better at mastering. There's some things that you don't need to learn, but if you know the basic of music production, mixing, you know, creating your own sound, your unique sound, then things like mastering you don't need, because I think mastering is you need a lot of expertise for that. You know, a very good ear, and a lot of times when you master, you shouldn't be mastering your own sound, because you somehow become immune to your sound, and you won't hear the nuances, you won't hear the differences between all the errors. But if you give it to someone else, that person can obviously hear the errors, and he can easily rectify them. So this is what I've learned, that yeah, compounding your learning, and not to worry that okay, I have to learn one thing at a time. No, you can be a more holistic person, because a lot of the time when you learn something, right, it can easily translate to something else. You know, those skills can transfer. The way you're learning that thing can transfer to something else. So it's best that you can also learn something that you're interested in. Obviously, if you're learning maybe music production, learn also maybe, you know, learn something like video production also. You know, things that like kind of go hand in hand or something like that. And that's why at times we shouldn't like really narrow ourselves into something. You know, I usually take the example of Leonardo da Vinci, right? He was a Renaissance man. He was a bit of everything. I haven't read his biography or anything. I've read pieces of his what has been written about him, and seen a bit of YouTube videos about him, you know, talking about him and all that. Da Vinci wasn't just a painter, that's it. He also was an engineer. He created plenty of things. He was an inventor. And as far as history is concerned, he's one of those guys who created the blueprint to what we now call the helicopter, right? He's the one who came up with the whole concept of the helicopter. Though he didn't invent it, right? But he came with the whole concept, and someone else took that concept and then created the helicopter. So you can see that how much of a holistic person he was. And I think he tapped into this very early in his life. He was able to translate or transfer those skills that he learned from something he was learning probably, and then that made it easy for him to learn different skills. And that's why I totally agree with Chris on this, that once you learn something, it becomes easier to learn certain things, because I guess you learn about your own patterns, you learn about yourself and your learning patterns. So that translates or transfers to learning other things. And we should be, that's why I advocate to be holistic. Don't just stick to one thing and that's it. Make sure that you learn different skills. You're always learning, you're always refining your skills, you're always acquiring skills. For example, yesterday I also went to buy 3 balls. I said, why don't I learn how to juggle? In fact, the main reason I want to learn how to juggle is that I think my left hand is a bit too stagnant. It doesn't work. I don't work it enough, right? And my dominant hand, which is the right hand, it really overcompensates for everything. So to awaken my left hand and make sure it's always kind of working, besides me learning piano, I can be juggling, just juggling. I also try to write cursively, learning how to write cursively with my left hand also, right? At the same time, at times I brush my teeth with my left hand, just to make sure my left hand doesn't slip, you know. And somehow I think also so that my right hemisphere of my brain also awakens or something like that, because I think the right hemisphere, the right side of the brain is responsible for your left side, right? So actually, if I'm more dominant with if I like play around with my left hand, then somehow I activate some sort of neurons in my right hand. in my right side of the brain rather. So I'm gonna. Yesterday, as I was saying, I went to buy these sort of balls, tennis balls, just like what, $10, $5 tennis balls, and I'm determined to learn how to juggle, because even though I know how to juggle with one hand, and I usually use 2 tennis balls to do so, but it's usually my right hand. That's what I use to juggle anyway. But if I can now learn how to juggle 3 balls, and I'll be forced to also use my left hand, so that there's a bit of coordination between the 2 atmospheres and my 2 hands at least. Because at times I find that even when I'm training, my coordination is not right. So this, I guess, will help if I try and really put pressure on my left hand. So I know this will be easier, because now I know how to learn better. I know how I can translate that. And I should mention that also, it's not a shortcut or anything to do this. It's sort of a hack and all that, but you still have to put on the work, because learning juggling is basically practice. You just have to practice until that memory muscle is built up, and then you're good at it. So it's basically practicing. But as long as you're practicing and then you're getting used to it, your hand gets used to that, and then you get better and better and better. So it's basically practicing. So yeah guys, so this is what my video was about today. So make sure you guys are holistic, learn different skills, learn different things. Don't just stick to one thing, and so that you become a learner, a much more proficient learner, and so that you understand things better. Because once you start learning things, the more you learn, the more, and then you put practice in that learning, whatever knowledge you've learned, then it becomes easier and easier to understand yourself, especially, then understand the things around you, people around you, and what's happening around you. At times you can even predict what's going to happen, because you've learned so much, and then you're able to really tap into your subconscious and all that, to know different situation. And at times, things like history does kind of repeat itself, right? So if you are able to tap into what you've learned, you notice that, okay, things are about, you notice certain patterns that go around, and you say, okay, this is about to happen, right? Just like at times you may notice patterns on people, especially when certain situations happen, and you can predict that how that person is going to react. I've done that, and it's not no superpower. I'm not saying it's a superpower or some mysterious thing. No, it's just that your brain notices such things. Your subconscious is able to recall these things, and then they put the patterns together. Your brain rather puts those patterns together, and then it comes out with those answers to, okay, what is happening. At times it may seem confusing, because I'm guessing this is where this whole deja vu thing comes. It's just that you're able to recall a few things, and then these patterns, because a lot of patterns in this world, they reoccur at certain times, at different times, the same times each year. The same thing happens. Or then if you recall these things, or you're able to notice these patterns, then you can even take advantage of these things anyway. So you guys, I hope I was well understood. This has been Alfred once again for Wakati Avenue. Stay tuned for much more, and I hope you guys stay well, and peace.